Okay, Jam on the fly. Today I'm doing my sculpin. It's Craft Fur Sculpin with a feather wing. Makes the pectoral fins on the fly. Was also using a sculpin helmet on this fly. Let me zoom in and we'll show you what this is actually a part of my my small streamer box. Is pretty much what this is. So let me zoom in on this and see if we can't put this together so you could see this fly. Try and get this centered pretty decently. Okay, let me just zoom in on this, and I'm going to put my cardboard behind there so this all stays nice and in focus. And you can see the fly itself. All the characteristics of a nice sculpin pattern. Nice wide pectoral fins. That's done with a feather brush. And craft fur, because nothing moves in the water like craft fur for the tail. And a weighted helmet. Sculpin helmet. And that fly is just a beautiful fishing little sculpin that you can bounce off the bottom. The hook's riding up. Everything's in proportion for a nice little, and again it's like a 2.5-inch bait. It's all my small trout type of flies. So let me show you how we tie that. And I'm going to start see what I got here. SC15 Gamakatsu. And we're going to go with a 1/0. Put that in the vise. And again, let me get rid of this cardboard. Hopefully this stays focused on the it'll come in and out of focus a little bit. That's the way it seems to always be. It tries to get the lettering on my shirt sometimes. So let me just wrap this on. I'm using Dan Bailey Fine Mono. And again, come in, snip that out. We're going to go with tan craft fur to start this fly off. Again, I set my spring for the length of the tail. And I'm just going to turn that a little bit just to give you a little bit of insight that way. And we're going to pull off a decent little clump of craft fur here. Again, we're going to pull this out like that. I'm going to pinch and I'm going to pull out the fibers, the under fur. We're going to keep that, just set that to the side. We may use some of that in this fly. And then I flip it around and I just kind of even the tips of the craft fur so I have a distinct line. That way when I turn it over to tie in, I can measure my length. I want to go just shy of the spring on my vise, like a measuring tool. You want to do that pretty often because that pretty much keeps consistency in your flies. Okay, and we're going to wrap that down in like that. I'm going to take another little batch, and actually what I could do is I could actually come and fold this over this way, and then I'm going to just kind of cut that on a bit of an angle to kind of create our belly. And remember, this fly rides upside down, so the top is our belly on this fly. Come front. We got a nice tail, nice belly. We're going to get another length of craft fur. Again, full length. We're not using the tabs yet. Get another nice full length of craft fur. Again, pull out the under fur. Turn it. trim off the ends so they're kind of even. We're going to set this guy to the side and back the same length. And this is going to be towards the camera side. Just like that. And we'll put another piece towards my side. Again, cleaning out the fur, the under fur. Kind of treat this like deer hair. Flip it over, and in this case of the craft fur, I just go across just to even them tips up a bit. Like that. And then we're going to put another little batch on my side. Again, checking the length. Couple loose wraps, and you can tie that right in. And again, to complete your body, we don't need quite this much, so I'm just going to take about half of that out. Right there, take about half of that out. And half of that we're just going to clip off and get rid of. And the rest we're going to fold over as our belly. Again, the top is the belly, so that's kind of what we're doing here. We're going to lift up these fibers, and we're just going to come in and trim them out. And you could kind of taper them and get them on an angle, and may as well cut your belly out right here because it's right here on top where you're working. And we just want to kind of erase the any harsh lines. So this is all kind of cut in like a nice little hair job. And you can see we got a nice little belly on that fly. Everything's looking good. Flip it over. Wrap up to that point. And right up over the back we're going to add some grizzly craft fur. So I'm going to dig out a nice little length, nice little chunk of this. And I'm going to cut that off. I'm trying to keep it cut as tight to the mat as I can because this fiber isn't normally that long. It's not like the select craft fur where you have really long fibers. This stuff here, you end up with a lot of short stuff. Cutting it as long as I possibly can. And this is just going to be kind of laid in back over the tail to give some modeling. If you look at sculpins, they're very modeled. And we're going to tie that in, and of course this will be the top of the fly. And that is pretty much the craft fur portion of the sculpin. Now we're going to take a brush, and this particular brush is made from guinea fowl feather and peacock wing. And basically we cut them loose fibers off and we form a feather brush out of that. And I have videos on feather brushes, so we could show you that in another video. But basically, I got to tie in this brush. This is the next step. And we're going to tie this in right back here. Work our way front. And we're going to begin wrapping this brush. And as we wrap, we're going to try and fold back all the feather fibers. And it could look like a disaster at first, but just relax and just work your way in, trying to tame all these feathers back. Work your way front. And again, you could use your scissors to pick out some of the fibers and let them fall back into place. And we will tie off that brush. Snip it out. Again, I'm going to take my pliers, and I'm going to have to reach over and grab them quick. Okay, so we'll take our pliers and we'll pinch the end and just roll that brush, that metal tab in. If you ever see me do any of the flies, that's one of my biggest things, is getting that rolled in, just like that. And again, we got everything situated just the way we want it. We're going to pull this back. I'm going to actually take the comb, the brush, and we're going to brush out those fibers. And you can see they're just a really bulky type of a pattern. We're going to turn this upside down as far as the way it rides. And we're going to pick out a section of fibers, and we're going to wrap over them and let them stick out to the side of the camera side, just like that. Then we're going to take another section of fibers right here, and we're going to pick them out, and we're going to wrap over them so that they stick out on my side. So when it's all said and done, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. And that's going to make your pectoral fins on the for the fly itself. Okay? So we have all this dark fiber up on top. And then we're also going to have that on the side when we put our helmet on. We're going to grab our helmet. We're going to make sure that we have a good fit. And remember, that goes this way up on top. And it may take a little bit of pressure to get that in where we want it. But we want to be able to jam that in so we could get that everything correct. So again, if you got to tighten up on the hook, well, we're going to do that. I'm going to loosen this up. I'm going to tighten up on the hook there. And I'm going to push until I could see that eye sticking out of there. And that's pretty much where she's going to end up going. So, with that being done, and that being in place, we're going to whip finish. And I'm going to whip finish back out over top. Just like that. Okay, in this case here, we can't use a Bondix because it's not a clear head, so we have to use some super glue gel. Again, got the pectoral fins, we got everything the way we want it. We're going to take some super glue gel, and we're just going to put a little bead right around the head area, just like that. And this may be a little bit messy, but that's the way you do it. Now we're going to take our helmet and we're going to put it on so that the eyes are facing down, because this thing is going to ride upside down or hook point up. Grab a hold of that, jam that on so that you could see the eye of the hook. Okay, just like that. Take the time to look over the fly and spread out those pectoral fins, and that's just so that when the glue hardens, it hardens out like that. Smear them out, spread them out. Nice white belly. As you can see, we got a few fibers here that we could trim. Just like that. So you end up with a beautiful belly, and a beautiful sculpin pattern. And of course you got the craft fur, which moves like crazy. And again, we're making sure that we have these pulled out to the sides so that when that glue dries, it's going to give us that nice sculpin shape. And that thing will fish wonderful. I got one oddball feather sticking out here. I'm just going to snip that out. There we go. And you can see pretty much that's our fly. A little bit of trimming of these little butt ends. Beautiful craft fur feather brush sculpin, and I'm going to call that my the JM sculpin, and that's just the way what I'm going to call that, because this is basically my sculpin pattern for kind of all times. I tie some other styles in the bigger sizes, but this is definitely my favorite in for my small boxes, so maybe we'll call it the JM Small Sculpin. Again, as far as the eyes, I'm just going to touch a little dot super glue gel right in the eye socket. And it only takes a teeny little bit. Again, take a pen, we'll pull off an eye, and we'll lay that eye right in place, just like that. Push it into the eye socket. Oop. Sometimes they want to get wild on you. They stick in one spot. We'll see if we can get that thing back in place. There we go. That's it. That's all there is to it. Seems like every time you're filming, something has to happen goofy. And the other eye, we're just going to lay in place like this. Same deal. Make sure it's in the groove like that. Same procedure that I do with almost all my flies this way is we're just going to hit that with a little bit of Sally Hansen Hard as Nails right out over the top of the entire head. So we'll take this and we're just going to paint this right out over the top. Add some durability, adds a little shine to the fly, to the head itself. But it definitely seals them eyes in. And that is the JM Small Sculpin. And again, this is a very small pattern. It's only like 2 1/4, 2.5 inches long. Very effective little streamer that I tie and use for on all the basically all the trout creeks around here. I tie it with the Dan Bailey Fine Mono just because I have taken this and used this in salt water before too, and I just like the all my streamers, most of my streamers I should say, that I could use for either salt water or fresh water. Most times I'm tying on with mono. So that's it. The JM Small Sculpin. Jam on the fly, and I'm out of here.